evening, y'all. Grunge here again. Late night special. So you know what that means. Either something really serious or probably something really frisky. This ain't the witching hour, or like how they used to say. This the time when you're on the weekend, young growing up, out about on the town looking for something to carry home or carry someplace to go try poke up and this, that, and the next thing. Nah, this could be a little bit of jokey now, but take this serious, like biblically serious. Y'all know me, especially if you know me good. From childhood days, y'all know I used to watch a whole lot of X-rated movies and stuff like that. I mean, still occasionally do. You know what it is, vitamin purposes and stuff like that. You gotta stay percolating. For whatever reason, get your testosterone levels up, start this, that, and the next thing. Now that I've got it pretty much down to a science, or up to a science, or got it from, came down from, you know, the source, you could say. I never been no steroid person, never at all take no steroids, so as natural as possible, not even no flicking testosterone pills, boosters, none of them kind of things. Strictly natural, how God meant it to be, so I try to keep it. Just so happens it ain't necessarily as vitamin-y around here nowadays, so I know y'all probably are going out there, especially all fast boys, fast girls. Hint, hint. Y'all know who I talking about or talking to. Get around, children. Like how the old folks apparently used to say and stuff. I could learn, yo. Anyhow, this one's gonna hit home. Like how they say, that one really hit home. Like it really, really makes some sense to you. Really understand, really pick you up and bounce your brain sometimes, rattle it around enough to get some freaking serious thoughts about it and stuff going on. This one could do that, especially if you like me. Where it hit? Home. Where I am? Home. Alright. Now, watching porn now. I just had a little something on the TV now. Just now anyway, get my little vitamins before I crash out for the night. This dude, back in the day, black dude, used to be a real big porn actor. One or two of them actually. This dude specifically from like say the early 80s. He was like one of the first black guys to go mainstream. I guess he was, quote unquote at the time probably I guess the biggest, or I guess one of the biggest, tools I guess they had in that actual, genre, I guess you could say. So he was real popular. Real sleek, extra smooth kind of looking dude, all kind of, posh looking, proper looking, neat and all that kind of things. Dressed looking always businessy. One of them first kind of dudes you see like always trying to look like the dapper or something like that. In these actual videos, all the white girls and stuff like that, I guess that's probably how he got mainstream, because they wasn't really showing a whole lot of black folks like that on the TV shows and stuff, on the movies and stuff like that way back in the day. But somehow he was the one they pick up and sit in all the flicking, or I think even Oprah had him on her show back in the day when she used to have a talk show, applauding him up and clapping him up and bigging him up and all kind of things. Oh, using, but they used to have other porn stars on these shows too that didn't really get the same kind of treatment. Some of them go on these shows, girls and stuff like that, fine girls, maybe some guys and stuff like that. Some applaud them, the audience get involved. Some applaud them, some, talk them down and, have little bickering and stuff like that, back and forth, whatever else. But this dude, they were singing his praises from them days, some of my earliest days of watching it. And when I say I've been watching these things for a long time, I've been watching it for years. I came across my first set of stuff from probably 7, 8 years old, maybe a little bit earlier. Came across an old hidden tape, so I mean this wasn't nothing new to me now, but you could say I kinda watched it over the years, so I noticed some things. Seeing some things change, people change, stuff change, what they actually showing compared to what they showing nowadays and stuff like that. things people doing, people more open to this, that, and the next thing, closed to more this, that, and the next thing. I kind of get the idea of knowing these people so much that I know a lot of their names and stuff like that, just from watching it, off and on for so long. But that's what I'm getting at. Just because, anyway, like I said, y'all know how I am when I talk about certain things, certain sexualities and stuff like that. Some things I like, and some things I don't like. Straight and arrow. You hear that? Let me hear it. Let me say it again. Straight and arrow. Some people like to say straight and narrow. I switch it a little different. Straight and arrow. Nah, that's the path you're supposed to be on. Nah, someone like me, as a biology person, my whole life that was one of my favorite subjects with us. That's why I followed through. Eternal life or the opposite, death. It just so happens biology is the study of life. Human biology, study of human life, so such and so forth. So I know how to actually use this stuff to actually quote unquote boost testosterone, and what doesn't. It's just nature. So when you see these dudes and stuff like that, you watching, I'm thinking, in my biological mind, when people like somebody, especially guys, you can't necessarily hide it. Because you with somebody and you in a sexual moment and you like them, your antenna radar gonna pop up and say, hey, you can't hide it. You get your erection and you can see that something is quote unquote seemingly legit about what's going on. Meaning somebody straight and the girl, well, straight, whether you're married like them or not, I know it's a show, but that's just how the bodies work, as far as I'm concerned. Now you got some folks that's, I guess, I don't know, maybe switchy and bisexual. I ain't never been like that. I ain't going like that, so I could only guess that I guess sometimes there's this turn off and turn on and turn on in other directions and this, that, and the next thing. Anyhow, point is, what I'm getting at, this dude, uh, it kind of affected my whole porn watching. I wouldn't say career, but say it kind of changed my taste for a lot of things. So growing up, like I said, especially as a young dude, it's just back in our days anyway. It was kind of the thing. Young boys and stuff like that sneak their little porn magazines and Playboy and stuff like that. That was the real big, porn channel, adult channel back in the day. They had some other ones that was more, frisky and stuff like that. But growing up, it was kind of like the cool kind of thing to be, having them and checking out the girls in the magazine. So you used to go, and I've said that it wasn't something that you happened to come across all the time. When you start getting a little close to age, you couldn't wait to actually get to the point where some people, oh, you could buy liquor, you could buy cigarettes, you could buy porn magazines. You only had to be 18 in the States to legally buy a magazine. But if you look close, I guess people probably never really used to probably ask no whole heap of questions. So I remember I went away one time while I was away. I think it was after. I think I was out of school. I'm pretty sure I was out of school at the time. Anyway, came across this porn like store. And I don't know if I think I might have went in there by myself, seeing what kind of magazines and stuff like that. It was an actual full on porn store, like big store, movies, magazines, all kind of gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that. They even had like a couple of little like movie booths and stuff like that where you could like go and sit down and either watch like full movies, or they like how they have the websites and stuff like on TV now, the different categories of this, that, and the next, and you could kind of just kind of make your way search through different categories and stuff like that and see what you like. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go in there and see, some new girls or something like that, some other pretty girls or something like that I may not have seen, back in the day, because they kind of started, censoring a lot of stuff like that, so you couldn't really always just freely watch it for free, I should say. So we just go in there and just see what's going on, what it's like. And I happened to sit in that little movie booth seat, and let me tell you something. When I say this changed my whole watching strategy or porn and all them kind of things from then, and we talking like from like the probably early 90s, changed my whole, I'd say philosophy, but opinion, some of these things and people and stuff like that. You can't judge a book by its cover, folks. I know you heard it over and over and over, but you really, really can't. So when I say things change for me after sitting in that booth, here's why. Now I sitting in there and I scrolling, seeing, this different stuff, and like how are you watching your movies and stuff like that, especially if you're on like a laptop, they got these little pop-up screens and stuff, little side screens and stuff like that aside from the little main screen that you're watching or looking at. And they show you little advertisements and this, that, and the next thing. I can't remember if it was one of them little pop-up screens that was on the side, or if it was just as I would say scrolling through it, you just happen to see scrolling, oh, familiar face, and then boom. Nah, when I say, I don't know if y'all know what it is to get head, but this dude had all kind of penis all up in his life. I mean, like when you see them girls, like how they have them back and forth and this way and the next way, like pin cushions in them some kind of times, all clog up and this day and the next thing from penis and stuff like that. He was getting head, but nah. Y'all wrestling, sports fanatics and stuff like that from back in the day used to watch plenty wrestling. Okay, that ain't the headbutt I talking about. That's not the kind of headbutt I'm talking about. This the kind I'm talking about. Like, say if you one of them, bad dudes, rapists, this, that, and the next thing, child or whatever them kind of dudes. When you get caught and you go to jail, and dudes them drape you up and they flicking, you hear somebody get headbutt. That's what I talking about. Somebody got you from the back, and somebody got you by the face, and they get to whittling away at your behind. And anyhow, he was getting headbutt. Mister, this, that, and the next thing, I was like, squirch, switch. I didn't say I quickly jump about the flicking boot, but I was like, what? I didn't want to watch his porn no more. When I happen to come across him, I see him, I click on him, that's who it is. Scritch. Next. Same thing, like if you like me, I don't like to flick him, but I don't be, hey, I ain't the kind of person, as much as I might watch it, I never rubbed nuts with nobody before no more in my life. Never wanted to, never intended to. I don't see nothing cool about it. Nah. Maybe that's just me, probably because I grew up way away from a whole lot of people back in the day, so I had to more or less have my own opinion to myself and didn't get to experience maybe a whole lot of everybody else used to probably get to experience growing up around a lot of people in neighborhoods and stuff like that. Y'all gotta understand where I grew up. Yeah, the place small, but I grew up way out in the back of flicking Orange Hill area, up on the hill in the bush, well, like whilst it was still bush. So me, my TV, my little sister lock up in her room, my mommy lock up in her room, and I lock up in my room, and the old man come, go and eat, home, reach home late, them kind of things. So that used to give me a little bit of time to run out and still catch a couple of them movies and stuff before all four of the parents' eyes up and about and around the house. You could have kind of swindled mommy out of, being around for a couple of minutes to catch a little glimpse. But anyhow, whee, that had to change some things. I had to, have my opinions of certain things, this, that, and the next thing, how things supposed to be. Maybe y'all might be used to seeing or hearing but them kind of things, or maybe used to flicking dating people after saying, all right, well, oh, then just like you spit on your food, you can wash it off or kiss it up to God. Relationships ain't the same kind of thing. Not for everybody. So when I say this testosterone and supplement sales and stuff like that gone through the roof in the last probably decade or two, that telling me I probably ain't the only person who thinking that way. Watching these things now, all of a sudden you see the flicking dudes who used to figure was, cool and stuff like that, getting headbutt and stuff like that, pop up on the screen with all kind of things in their face and then they wherever else. Yeah, them side ain't cool no more. So they done waste a whole lot of pussy, far as I'm concerned. You can say that on here. Oops. They done waste a whole lot of flicking fun stuff, cool stuff to play with, I should say. Just by the fact of them being who they is, how they is, what they was, doing what they was, and having people thinking they was what they is and was what they was. Now that the flicking breaks, then slam and scourge, and you look around, all of a sudden there's a scarcity, seemingly of fine chicks that these dudes ain't been with. They got another one out there. Well, that dude his name was Shawn Michaels. Y'all could probably Google him and see. Y'all probably recognize his face and stuff or name or any kind of things because he been around long from like the early 80s. The other one who I noticed around that same time, I think it was the same time in that same booth, guy scrolling, another pop up, next one, clog right up, whole life full of penis. And his name is Justin Slayer. So you know what popped into my mind not too long after that, Slayer. You know what a Slayer is? That's somebody who is just slaughter. Now, y'all ever heard anything about the abomination of desolation? Well, I ain't gonna say that's what it is, and I ain't gonna say that's what it ain't. But if you understand biblically some of the things God have for abominations, people who they apparently just as simple as praying with your head covered, I think God says an abomination in the Bible. So you know them homosexuals, they're definitely the ones who he claim he hate in the Bible. Now, I can't remember God saying if he hate them said who do the abominable thing by praying with the head covered. I don't know if it's the exact same thing. I could read it again and see if he say it, if he actually hate them too. But he definitely hate them homosexual types. So I saying how much pussy these dudes then waste all over the planet, and that's only two that I come across. I see a couple other ones who I realize that's like, and I didn't flicking lock them into my head to say, all right, intentionally or otherwise, when I see them, I be looking out for them. If they look a little extra prudy and I see too much of muscles, man, this Slayer dude was kind of buff, so you can't always go by the muscles them and thinking, oh, they buff and manly and this, that, and the next thing. They getting clogged up too, some of them. So how much flicking cool stuff these people done flicking waste? Not everybody into going behind somebody else if they done been with a whole bunch of, like I done said before, sissy. I don't know what kind of baptizing it is take, but that ain't necessarily the most attractive thing to me, to somebody to be known to be around a bunch of flicking Fruit Loops and stuff like that, and then decide to say, oh, they want a good man, they want a nice man. Well, what them said was you was with while you was also happy to be with them and under them and whatever else. You know how they just do each other. So what they was doing with y'all to make them feel manly, or to give y'all the impression they was manly. What kind of man y'all was trying to get and want? What y'all call good? Anyhow, being the fitness person I am, now it might make sense to some of y'all why these supplements selling like how they selling. Because you got to use a lot of them nowadays just to get what you ordinarily would get just from where you were supposed to get it, and it not be in there. Abomination of desolation. Hey, I don't quote me, but it's some of the things I be thinking about, and they selling plenty. So I can imagine I ain't, like I say, I'm not the only one thinking about it. So y'all out there all over on up and down the night. One time ago I was home for years and years. I didn't start going nowhere till I got my driver's license. 16 years old, start driving, and really start hitting the clubs and stuff like that, and hanging out and this, that, and the next thing until probably after the second high school graduation. I did 11th grade here, we graduated, then 11 and 12 again in the States again. Then I started to move around for real when I actually, got my official driver's license and say just about to start it in college, checking clubs, and wasn't dating yet, but just was, scanning, seeing, looking for what I might decide, like they say, the big cat run up in the tree with and flicking and get to gnawing on for the first time or just in general. Alright, y'all nowadays got some slim pickings, especially if you only like the finest girls. It's some slim pickings now, cause plenty of them that done get dominated. Not saying that they are. If they didn't know, just like how we didn't know, I wasn't sure, I didn't know. If you didn't know, now you know. Y'all heard that before? Y'all heard what happened? Who did say that? Okay, alright. So, out and about from say but 16, 17 up until but 21, 22. Then all of a sudden out and about and kind of start to fizzle out. I didn't pick up little couple of, well, such and such associates companies here and there. Man, you say the party did start. And it did stop kind of abruptly too, at least around here. For whatever reason, thinking about it, I wonder if it's because of some of these same little floozy looking dudes. Anyhow, fast folks, like to pick things up fast, and hopefully you might not pick up something that you might want to spit back out later on. Do your homework, your research, and your scanning and stuff like that, because you see where I is now. They say where the heart is. I know I got one in here. I see a fridge. Well, yeah, that's cool, because that's what it is supposed to do. The air condition. Yeah, that's cool. That's what it's supposed to do. A little fan over there in the corner. I know it's dark, you can't see it, but a little fan over there. They cool things. By principle, they cool things. The water in here is be cold and all sometimes too if the heater ain't got on. Company, well, the here look a little desolate. Back in them days, yeah, you might not have known that because I was done off the scene and doing whatever I was doing. This wasn't them lonely kind of times back in the day. Not to say you feel lonely now, but God pick you up and you don't necessarily feel lonely. But you still want to do certain things, but you understand if God's saying, we ain't want none of that. And you got to realize that sometimes that's just plainly what he be saying. Where did me and you ain't able to do it, like had little plague and sicknesses and stuff like that. You don't necessarily feel like being too comfortable. You're not being around a whole lot of people. They ain't curses sometimes. Sometimes that's why God does have to flick and really latch on to come us and is strong to hold us from trying to do certain things that we might ordinarily just feel comfortable doing, thinking it's cool to do. Cool, cool, cool. But desolation ain't cool. So y'all out there, y'all take y'all time, do y'all research, make sure what you're doing, because these things don't be playing fair. I can let you know now, they don't. Don't waste your time or do the crime. Because when you do the crime, you know where they can take you. They can try to get you right in the back of them. Same thing with some of them same fruity flicking dudes where they have the flicking headbutt party with you. If you ain't got your muscles what you were supposed to have to fight them off. Anyway, a little quick message. You could probably figure out where it come from. Sabbath just sent, but that don't mean the flicking message stop on Sabbath. Anyhow, crunch out.